I want to ask you a question. What if I walked into a walrus eating watermelon on Wednesday? Did you hear what I said clearly and understand it? Well, sometimes in English, we speak English with sounds that are very hard or difficult to understand. So we're going to talk about that on today's episode. Hikari, kick it off.
皆さんこんにちは。毎日少しずつ社交に使える英語の上達を目指すソーシャルイングリッシュポッドキャストへようこそ。今日はぜひもっと自信を持って英会話してみましょう。 Are you ready, Percy? Let's go!
Hey Hikari, thank you for that amazing intro as usual. Thank you. And if this is the first time you listen to us, hey, welcome to the Social English Podcast, where we help you speak a little bit of more social English every single day. If you're a returning listener, also, we'd like to thank you as well. And please continue listening and telling your friends and family about us here at the Social English Podcast. Today's topic, we're going to talk about how to ask someone that's speaking English how to say the thing they said one more time because you didn't understand it. Maybe it was too fast or you just didn't understand what they said. That's what we'll be talking about today on today's episode. So, without further ado, let's just jump right into today's episode. How are we going to do that? By the usual. I want you to picture yourself and me in a cafe of your choice. You can hear the people around us. We're drinking coffee and having maybe another snack like a bagel or a croissant. But I met you today at this cafe because I'm your friend Percy, and you asked me to help you with your English today. So the topic that we're going to be discussing for this particular meeting of ours is, like I said before, we're going to talk about how we discuss asking someone how to say something that we didn't understand. Okay? So in English, we have many different ways to ask as a learner of English. So when you're learning English and studying English, there's many ways you may come across, but let's talk about the two main ways that you learn how to ask someone to say something again. Okay. So, the first way that you may learn, especially from a school or maybe you pick this up. I hear a lot of beginner or very low level English Japanese speakers use this particular phrase. One more, please. One more, please. Okay. That's when they don't remember. Here's what we understand. You don't understand something. Someone said something in English. You hear English. You are talking to someone and you don't understand. That's what's going on. So one more time, the low level beginner will often say, "One more, please. One more, please." And this is not really what we want to use. We don't want to use that at all. What we want to use is we want to use something different. But first, let me give you another example. Some of the medium level, or even higher level, I would consider them having a higher level of English. They have learned English or studied English for quite a while. They will use the phrase, "I didn't catch that." I didn't catch that. Okay, so I didn't catch that. That is also a phrase that many medium or even higher level of Japanese students that are learning English, that's what they would say. Now, let's talk about the problems that we're facing with both of these ways to ask, these responses. Okay, so there's problems with both of these. The problem with the first one is that we can't, it's not clear sometimes if you say, "One more, please." If we are sitting at a cafe and we are talking to each other, and I have a donut and you have a croissant, and I say something that you don't understand, if you say, "One more, please," I think you are saying that you want one more croissant, or you want one more cup of coffee. It does not sound like you're asking me to repeat what I said because you don't understand. So the next situation is if you have, or if you use the second response, or the second way, the second question, which is, "I didn't catch that." Now, when you say "I didn't catch that," if you say this in North America, let's say Canada, or especially in the United States where I am from, sometimes people might laugh. People might laugh, or people might smile as soon as you say this. The reason is, it is not wrong. It is not a wrong question to ask in English. The English is correct, but this type of question is not used in regular daily English. This is why someone that you're speaking to might laugh, because it sounds a little bit funny. Okay, now let's move on. Let's continue. Let's look at 2 more responses. These are the responses that I think you should use. Okay, let's look at the first response. The same question. Here is the question. We're going to use what you would learn in a conversational English or a Kaiwa class. I'm sorry. I didn't catch that. Could you repeat that? I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? Okay, so the question that you would hear or that you should use, this is a question that you should use, that you can use. Is, I'm sorry, could you repeat that? You don't understand what someone says? Your question is, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? Now, this tells the listener, the person that you are talking to, exactly what you are saying or what you want. It is very clear and they can understand. Now, I'm going to give you one more extra way to ask this question. This is more of a social English response, and it's very simple. And here it is. What did you say? What did you say? Okay. Now, that is more of a shorter and a more social English response, because that is the response that you would most likely hear in North American English or in everyday English. That's another one. Actually, you would hear that more than you would hear in the conversational English version, because it's shorter and it's a little bit more to the point. And most people would use that in most situations. So please practice those last two and use them for yourself. Try to talk to some friends. Maybe you're in an online group, and try to use those particular questions. If you don't understand what they said, listen to a movie or a television show on Netflix and see if you can hear any character ask the question, what did you say? All right. That's going to do it for today's episode of the Social English Podcast. I am Percy, and once again, I want to thank you for joining me today. And hey, it was a great time, and I really enjoyed doing this. I know you learned something today, so come visit us at realsocialenglish.com, where you can get my free download. That's right. I made a free download for you that will help you improve your English. It is called The 7 Mistakes Most Japanese Learners of English Make and How to Fix Them. You'll also find more resources to help you get better at English every day. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and now Pandora. Become a patron. Help the show by donating $5 US to help out the show. We will show you our thanks by personally thank you in a future episode. You will also get new content only available there. Join us there at patreon.com/social English. Share our podcast on your social media with your friends and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I will see you in our next episode. In our next episode, we are going to be talking about, we're going to talk about Google. We're going to do a Google Translate mistakes, fixing Google Translate mistakes. And basically how to do that. We're going to have a whole dialogue. We're going to take something from Google Translate. We're going to show you, we're going to talk about the wrong way the wrong things that they said, how they said them incorrectly, and then we're going to fix them with correct English. So stay tuned for that episode next on the Social English Podcast. Hikari, please close out the show.
今日は楽しい時間をありがとうございました。ぜひ私たちのウェブサイトrealsocialenglish.com を訪問して日本語訳と役立つ情報を手に入れてください。また次回お会いしましょう。バイバイ。See you next time. Bye bye.